So it's still been just a short amount of time since the Endwalker expansion came out for Final Fantasy XIV, which of course was the latest expansion that told the story of Hydaelyn and Zodiark, otherwise known as the main story which Final Fantasy XIV had been telling since it first came out. We got a little bit of main story quest content since then. We're probably going to be largely in the dark until the next expansion is announced, at least as far as the main story content is concerned. In the meantime, we do have lots of post-expansion updates that are still readily rolling out. We've only had one major update since Endwalker came out, and that was patch 6.1. This added the trust system to the base game dungeons, so people trying to queue up for the early content can opt to just use AI partners if the queue is taking too long for them. It also added some new main story quests as well as side quests that feature two fan favorite characters, Tataru and Hildibrand. Tataru is a main story character who was introduced early on in Final Fantasy XIV. And Hildibrand is a goofy side quest character that has a ton of side content, those weird comedic adventures he goes on with you as the player character. Very funny stuff. However, for this video, I mainly want to talk about 6.2, which we should be expecting to see from this upcoming patch update. The second part of the 8-man Pandemonium raid is scheduled to come out with this update. Pandemonium, of course, being the big new raid that was added in Endwalker. This will be part 2 of 3, and the final part of Pandemonium raid series should be coming out sometime in patch 6.4 or 6.5. I'm personally really excited for this. Without spoiling too much, it's super fun raid series. I think the story behind is really interesting. I'm excited to see where it goes from there. They're also adding something called variant dungeons, which I'm pretty curious about. We don't know too much about these, but they appear to be level 90 casual dungeons that feature no role restrictions. Job changes will be permitted mid-quest, and the way the dungeon plays out will change depending on what the players decide to do. So typically dungeons are straightforward and linear, with occasional optional areas and paths players can choose to do, but this appears to be sort of a dynamic system behind the way a dungeon is presented to the players. So what exactly this means is still a little bit unclear, but I do like the direction they're going with this. Along with the variant dungeon announcement, we're also getting Criterion dungeons, which are basically going to be the same thing as variant dungeons with a more focus on the hardcore players. These dungeons will have role requirements, but the route is predetermined. So I'm guessing that this may be a setup that players can't cheese their way by making certain choices, intentionally to make it easier. To me, these look more like high difficulty dungeons, but time will tell. And lastly, the thing that I might be the most excited about going to the addition of something called Island Sanctuaries to Final Fantasy XIV. This seems to be different from player-based housing and also similar in a few ways. The basic idea here is that your character is going to be able to start living on an island and working your way up from scratch until you have something you can really be proud of. So think of games like Animal Crossing New Leaf. This is apparently going to be unlocked through some solo gameplay quests of some kind. The materials you gather are going to be in their own inventory slot, which is awesome because it means your regular inventory won't be clogged full of stuff that doesn't carry over to other areas. There's still lots of items in Final Fantasy XIV that I would consider unnecessary clutter. Take for example the belt equipment slot, which was recently completely removed in favor of providing a more tidy inventory. I'm expecting something similar to this to be made in future as time goes on. Anyways, you'll be able to grow crops. There's going to be apparently some sort of zoo-like, Pokemon-like system with creating rare and varied creatures, which really has me intrigued. And of course, we'll have the option to visit the islands of our friends, or have them come to our islands instead. We still don't know a lot what's going to this actually going to look like, but Square Enix is promising that the next live letter announcement video will go over Island Sanctuaries in even more detail. So what do you guys think of the new update? There's a lot more that was announced with this update, but these things were some of my biggest takeaways. Specifically, I'm wondering what you guys think of the new Island Sanctuaries. I personally love Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley, so I'm pretty excited to see what Final Fantasy XIV's take on this genre is going to look like. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe for more videos. Catch you guys in the next one.